And so, first of all, I want to thank the Rodman Street Baptist Church, Dr. Darrell Kennedy, and the Rodman folk for hosting us tonight. Could you please give them a... And so we're grateful for their willingness to allow me to share with you here. Tonight's meeting really is a meeting in follow-up to something we've been working on for the last several months. 6 months ago, we passed the HELP Initiative in council, and it was signed by the mayor. And the HELP Initiative is a process to build and protect affordable housing in the east end of Pittsburgh. Since the time that legislation has been passed, I have been working with a group of partners over the last 6-7 months in order to make this reality. It's all part of a City for All agenda, making Pittsburgh affordable and livable for everyone. And that includes good schools for all, living wage jobs for all, affordable housing for all, and good schools for all. And so we are excited. So tonight, maybe for the first time publicly, and you're the first group of leaders we've brought this to, and you've come from representatives from 5 different neighborhoods. All of you are here. And so the first thing is, I am not coming alone. It's not me. This plan is now being put out by myself, Mayor Peduto, I left him a few minutes ago, and Representative Gainey, and County Executive Rich Fitzgerald. We are all on the same page, working on your account to do something significant. The second thing is, I owe a big debt. I want to say from the very beginning, we owe a big debt of gratitude to the Larmer folk, the Larmer Consensus Group. This really is based on their hard work over their several years of work, almost 10 years of work, that resulted in the housing that you see being built across the street from this church, and you'll see it on your way home. And so we believe tonight we're going to unveil a process that will be probably the single largest investment in the East End in the last 70 years. And so I'm going to sort of walk you through it from the beginning so that you can understand it, and then share with you specific ways that you can participate and be a part of this effort. And so we are going to talk about it in small groups over the next few weeks, and then probably in about 3 weeks or so, I'll call a large meeting of individual residents and begin to share with them the vision and to share with them what is possible in their communities. All right, so it's called the HELP Initiative. It stands for Homewood, East Hills, East Liberty, Lincoln Leamington, Belmore, Larmer Protection Initiative. It's those 5 communities. Is an initiative to protect, preserve, and expand affordable housing in Pittsburgh's East End. The challenge is known by all of us. According to Housing Allowance of Pennsylvania, and I won't read all these words, but I'll go through it, there are about 21,000 shortages, lack of affordable housing in Pittsburgh. If you've been paying attention recently, the Penn Plaza controversy, where in East Liberty, they were taking longtime residents and almost putting them on the streets. And so because of intervention, because of Ed Gainey, myself, and the mayor, we've given them some time, but we still are going to lose affordable. At the end of the day, the East Liberty site will lose affordable housing. And so we have to think strategically of not only how to build affordable housing, but how to rebuild these traditional communities that have not seen investment in many, many years. So there's a challenge. We have both East Liberty, which is the fastest growing corridor in Pittsburgh. We have Larmer, which is, building 350 new houses. We have Lincoln Leamington, which has some of the largest home ownership in Pittsburgh. But we also have Homewood, which is one of the most blighted communities in Pittsburgh. All of it in contiguous neighborhoods, all of it in the east end of Pittsburgh. There are 3 basic challenges that we face in doing this work. One, market rate pressures. That is, the market is overheating in East Liberty. It's going faster than anybody can control. The second is neighborhood blight. In Homewood, for example, 2 families voluntarily leave every week. Homewood is dying and decaying around us. I've been in Homewood, as you know, as a pastor, over 31, almost 32 years. And I've watched the neighborhood decay since I've been there. And the third of all is neighborhood crime, that people don't want to live where they don't feel safe. And so those 3 challenges is what keeps our communities from being rebuilt. So we need a process, and we learned this from Larmer. that it's going to take, and let me say this from the beginning, no one can do this alone. No one can do this alone. It's going to take all of us and our best efforts and our best minds to all work together along with every element of government, from city to state to county to federal government. We're going to all have to pitch together to make this a reality. So what will Help Initiative do? It will create or support comprehensive community planning efforts. It will increase the capacity in community and faith-based organizations. One of the reasons why local organizations sometimes can't do development is they don't have the balance sheet. They don't have the money. They can't build the loan. In order to do development, you have to be able to have pre-development money before you close, right? And unless you have the wherewithal to amass that kind of money, you can't do development. Third of all, it will coordinate East End investments. It will coordinate the overall East End strategies from East Liberty to Homewood, so that we are not building concentrated poverty, but we're building transformational mixed income neighborhoods. Like we've done in Larmer, we need to continue that throughout the East End. It will facilitate and monitoring all ongoing construction projects. So on the front end, it will have housing ratios. We'll get a sense of what's possible in each neighborhood and then facilitate that development. So the structure. It is an entity that is managed by the Help Initiative, guided by a steering committee. There's members of the steering committee who are already in your presence here tonight. They will keep the Help Initiative accountable, making sure that it is moving in the best interest of people. Partners, as I said before, this is not my first meeting. This is one of several meetings. I've talked to the development community. I've talked to affordable housing. All of those people are really all in. And so it's the community development partners, the collaboratives, community-based organization, the steering committee, private developer, the Affordable Housing Task Force, all government officials. We're all in. Now, in order to do development, we've created this, what I call the 5 commitments of community development. And I have found that in areas, and again, Larmer was our test case, and Fred, who's over there, also had a great part in Larmer, and we appreciate your work. Well, we found that communities that grow do these 5 things, and pretty much in this order. And so what we want to do is replicate this process in those 5 communities. First of all, community collaboration. When communities are not organized and do not speak with one voice, they do not get developed. Their own internal arguing and bickering keeps development from happening in their communities. Second of all, comprehensive planning. And Malik Blankston of the Kingsley Association and the Larmer folk have convinced me of that, and I saw that with my own eyes. That when you begin to do comprehensive planning, that means not just a land use plan. And this is what also I've learned. I've learned that everybody's right. Everybody who says what we need to build our community is exactly right. People who say we need new schools, better schools, they're right. People who say we need to be safer, they're right. People who say we need new businesses, they're right. People who say, we need to love each other, right. We need better, everybody's right. But it will not occur unless everything happens at the same time. That's the only way you rebuild these communities. You must rebuild houses. At the same time, you're having new jobs. At the same time, you're making it less crime infected. At the same time, you're doing better schooling. It all has to happen simultaneously to transform these communities. And that is what we've learned in this work. Third of all, capacity in community organizations, so that we want to partner with community-based organizations so they can participate to their level of expertise and experience in development. And then, in order to do this, the city does not have enough resources to build the scale that we need. Therefore, we have to get more money. And so we have been already involved with raising outside money in at least 2 or 3 funds so that we can put together $30 or $40 million. The mayor is committed to helping us raise $60 million for the east end of Pittsburgh, and I'll talk about that toward the end. And so we are going to aggressively raise money in order to get development, large-scale development to occur. And then finally, you have to, get the projects in the ground and constructed. All right, let's talk a little bit about community collaboration. There are community collaboratives that either are existing or are already existing in some shape, form, or fashion throughout the 5 neighborhoods. The Keel Group, Homewood Community Development Collaborative, East Hills Consensus Group, Lincoln Leamington Consensus Group, Larmer Consensus Group, and there's other community-based and faith-based partnerships. The way that the help will work structurally is this chart, which is my favorite of the charts. All right, and it's simply this. You have private individuals, you have government, you have all of these organizations that participate in development. What the Help Initiative will do is 2 things. One, It will provide technical assistance to community-based organizations who want its help. It will provide them with the resources and the track record of how to do the things they need to do, whether it's planning or capacity or development. And the second thing it will do to organizations that want, it will partner with them in order to get projects occurring. All right? Because the problem in the East End is if we continue on the path that we're doing, which is 10 or 15 houses every couple years, our community will decay. We have to do development at scale. We need to start doing hundreds of houses a year in these communities in order to rebuild them. And so we both have the 5 collaboratives, so they will represent their communities. We will set up with residents, and then we will target individual projects. And so the real proof of the pudding will be in our capacity to get projects in the ground and to get our people jobs so they can participate, and to get the local community organizations involved so they can participate from the activity. So that's the chart, and that's my favorite of what this is going to happen, how it's going to happen. Next is comprehensive planning. What we learned from Larimer is that, and a little bit in Homewood, when you start doing planning, development occurs. If you don't do planning, development will not occur. And if it does occur, it doesn't happen the way you want it to happen. The way the residents keep control of their communities is by doing the hard work on the front end, by comprehensive planning. We have Better Block that has done the cluster planning. So those clusters in Homewood have some say-so of what they want in their communities, and they can hold developers accountable by following the plan they've already decided. So we need to replicate that in all of our communities. We need comprehensive plans, but that's not just a land use plan. There are 5 things the plan has to take in consideration. One is housing that I've talked about. The second one is people, and that is to make sure that they have healthy outcomes, which includes employment and safety and education. There is the neighborhood itself and all the amenities a neighborhood needs. A neighborhood needs more than just houses. It needs stores, it needs businesses, it needs good schools, it needs access to transportation, it needs all of those things. And so the fourth thing is green infrastructure. Again, another shout out to my friend Fred, who's convinced me of that. It's very important that as we build these new communities, that we understand their ecological impact. Am I saying it right, Fred? Right? It's ecological impact. So on the front side, we have to decide where the rain barrels go, where the trees go, where the storm water is going, separating it from the wastewater, so that not only are we building new communities, they are green and they are sustainable and healthy over a long number of years. And we only get one chance to do this. The fifth thing is local businesses. All right? One of the things we're finding in East Liberty is that local businesses are being displaced. And one of the things we can do is we have other business districts, both for them and for new emerging businesses, right? One of the fastest growing, in fact, one of the fastest growing places of businesses in the United States is African American women-owned businesses, right? But one of the problems is there's not space to put them in. They can't afford the storefront prices. So we have to create incubator space in places where they can open up their own businesses. And we're going to use the housing, and we'll have a longer conversation, but we can use housing to subsidize business development if we do it smart. All right, so those are the 5 areas the plannings will go in. Capacity building. All right, we need, again, remember I told you we need all of us? No one developer can do this. Not 2 developers, no one organization. We need multiple organizations, multiple developers, all working in order to make this happen. And so one of the charges of the HELP initiative is to work with community-based organizations to give them greater capacity where they can multiply this work. And they can be part of this work. And so they grow in capacity as we develop. So they grow themselves. They are able to participate in development activities. And that's both community-based organizations, and we don't want to leave the churches out, right? And that's also faith-based organizations. All right? The next thing is capital. The fourth thing is capital. We can't do this without money. Now, the other thing is this. The city cannot do this itself. The city does not have enough money. If it did, it would do it. All right, the URA and the Housing Authority alone do not have enough money to do enough projects to transform these communities. So we have to raise outside money. So how are we going to do that? Well, there's 2 ways right now. Well, really 3 ways. One is we are creating the East End Affordable Housing Fund, a fund specifically for the East End to do development in the East End. The mayor, and I've had some participation in that, the URA has already established such a fund, has already committed $4.2 million. In addition to that, we're working to bring PEFA and PETFA, those two organizations together to create a $20 million instrument. They are already committed to coming to Pittsburgh to work together to try to create that instrument. So we would have a pile of money in order to jumpstart development. Third of all, and I won't want to embarrass him, but raise your hand, Mr. Paul. All right, we have Mr. Dan Paul here, who has committed his own money, about $1 million of his own money, plus a third of his estate to this process, and he is leading our charge to go outside of our community to faith-based organizations. The goal is to raise $12 million of soft money so that we can have pre-development money and we can have money in deals. And so putting these two funding engines together, along with foundation and community support, we believe we can build a significant number of houses and new businesses, both for rental and just a mix. I'll get to that at the end. All right, so we need to coordinate the investment. The government, banks, foundations, private market, financial institutions, faith-based organizations. It's going to take all of us working together as partners to transform our communities. And we have to do it smartly. Last is construction. All right, so we have to create a production of affordable housing. My goal is to keep the permanent residents harmless. People who have been living at home with all their lives deserve a place to live. I need to say that again. People who have been living at home with for the last 40 years, they deserve a place to live. But they deserve a place to live that's clean, that's decent, that's affordable, that's free from crime, that has amenities like any other place. They should be able to walk and get fresh food. They should be able to walk and get tennis shoes. They should be able to walk and get blue jeans. They cannot do that now. And the only way they're going to do that is if we rebuild these communities. And so we have to create ratios to make sure that we do not do isolated ghettos. We have to limit the amount of affordable housing. We have to do mixed income communities. That's the way Homewood was. I grew up in Homewood, was born and raised there, been there all my life. When I was there in 1957, it was a mixed income neighborhood. And I don't know if we have any old Homewood people there. If you're old Homewood, then you remember May's department store, right? And Big John department store, and Isley's, and the State store, and the bakery, and the theater, and Beemore Theater, and the original Herman's. That's why I get the real old Homewood people, right? The original Herman's was in the place before the record shop on the corner, before it moved next door. I'm an old Homewood guy. And Murphy's 5 and 10, where I stole my first piece of candy from, downstairs, right? All right, so I've been there all my life. And so we will facilitate projects, their most recent, that's consistent with the most recent neighborhood plans. So at the end of the day, what's the goal? The goal is to partner with local faith-based and community-based collaboratives to facilitate development. 2, to coordinate a commercial retail strategy that supports or establishes retail businesses. 3, coordinates the construction, and this is the vision part. The goal is to build 2,000 mixed income units over the next 10 years. That means to do a choice or choice-like project almost every year over the next 10 years. All right? And we believe if the city builds 2,000, the market will build a matching 2,000. So you're not just looking at 2,000, you're looking at the city coordinate 2,000, wooing the market back to the East End, the market will build another 2,000. You'll see about 4,000 units in the East End of Pittsburgh over the next 2 years, 10 years, that will absolutely transform this community. And the whole idea is for it to be mixed income. So that we're not isolating anybody, we're not displacing anybody. And ensure that the 2,000 units include a mix of rental, housing, home ownership, rehab, and new construction. I am pleased to be here as a representative of the mayor and of the county executive and of the state rep. I am standing here with their partnership. You're going to hear more from them over the next few weeks. We are all in on this process. We are fastly, we have been working on this for 7 months. Now we're public with this. The idea is, and I have stood outside my church over 30 years, and I've watched all of the houses anywhere near my church be torn down. I've watched friends and family members be shot and killed in that neighborhood. I've seen it decay. And so unless you're going to do something comprehensive, that is, Homewood doesn't need 50 houses. Homewood doesn't need 10 houses. Homewood needs 200 or 300 or 400 houses. Lincoln Leamington is going to need 200 or 300 houses, new businesses, and we have to do that immediately in order for these communities to live. And so, what am I asking you? I'm asking you to do three things. Again, I'm going to go public to residents and every individual. You are the first fruit. You represent churches and community groups. There are three things I'm asking you to do. And again, we learned this in Larimer. There are three things I'm asking you tonight. One, participate in the planning processes in your own communities. If we go back to that chart, the 5 charts, each community is on a different level, right? East Liberty has a fully formed comprehensive plan. Larimer has a pretty good one, right? East Hills doesn't have one. Lincoln Leamington doesn't have one, right? Homewood has the beginning of one. And so I'm asking each of you to participate in your own communities in the comprehensive planning process. That's important because that's the way the communities get control of their neighborhoods, by deciding its future. And we're going to help you raise the money for the planning. The planning is not easy and it's not cheap. All right? Larimer's plan costs $900,000 to do. Just so you know. So comprehensive planning is not cheap, but it is the way communities get the control what the future of their neighborhoods look like. All right, that's the first thing I'm asking you for. The second thing I'm asking you for, to the extent that you're able, is to participate in the help fund, the help initiative rather, and let us partner with you to the extent you have interest in doing development in your communities. All right, we want to do the comprehensive plan. We want to bring money, resources, and expertise to jumpstart your activities so that we can do the planning faster and we can get to development faster, right? And then the third thing I'm asking you to do, to the extent you have an interest and you're able, is to partner with us so that we can facilitate development activity, right? Because if left alone, this does not get done. And so we're going to create one single pipeline of a significant number of resources, both technical resources, financial resources, expertise, driven by a community plan, so that the east end of Pittsburgh lives. Okay. So that's my spiel. Did I miss anything, Maria? I think not. That's what I'm asking tonight. You're the first fruit. You're going to hear me say this over and over again. You're going to hear the mayor say this over and over again to different settings. But I wanted to come to you first and let you know what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what it's going to look like. All right, so let me stop and try to answer individual questions.